A classroom management technique that I observed was when the students would get all loud and rowdy and whatnot, the teacher would say, all right, everybody put your things off your desk, clap and hold. 5, 4, 3, and then she would start counting, and the students would just immediately put everything off their desk, and they would just sit there, waiting for the next instruction. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
It's definitely probably something I would use one day in life.
Yeah. I know our teacher did where she would, if the class was like really loud and out of control, she would like whisper, if you can hear my voice, clap once. Then like 2 or 3 would clap, and then she would go, if you can hear my voice, clap twice. Which I've heard teachers do that, but she would like mix it up. She would do like, now snap clap if you can hear my voice. And so then eventually all the kids would be clapping and looking at her. And so I really liked that. One thing I didn't like was that the class was just like in a group. They weren't like in groups or like by row. So if they had to like go get their snack or anything, she would just say, okay, y'all get up and go. And I wish that she would have said like, okay, row 1, go get your snack, or 2, go get your snack. I think that would have helped like the craziness of the classroom.
And yeah, that was exactly what I was going to discuss about my teacher's classroom management. And this is first grade, and you know they're kind of little still, but they're learning. And she had them sectioned into, they sat in groups, like the desks were arranged in groups. And so when she had them do anything that involved getting up and moving around, she did it by groups. So she only had 3 or 4 students moving around at one time. So it was easier to control the class and the activity level and everything. So I was really impressed by that.
Yeah. That's like for the instructional strategies. I know there's a lot of different ones that you can use in the classroom, but I used, I guess it would be lecturing because I used a PowerPoint. And it went a lot better than I thought it would with second grade because, I mean, not second graders don't really like to listen to a lecture, but because it had like pictures and something for them to look at, I think that it really brought them in. And like I brought in the fruits that we were talking about, and so like when I would go over it, I would hold up the fruit that we were talking about. So I think that helped keep them into the lecture. So.
My partner used manipulatives when she was explaining how to do these puzzles, these Chinese puzzles called tangrams, and she had one on the screen that she was working on where they could see her working on it, but she also had one for each student to use at their desk while she was working on it. So they weren't just watching her do something fun and cool, but they were actually, and you know, like I might have, if I were doing that for the first time, I might have shown them first and then passed them out and had them, and so that it might not have held their attention as well, or once they had them, they might have already forgotten what they were doing.
Yeah.
So she had them like on their desk, you know, using them hands-on with her, and they really enjoyed it and paid a lot of attention.
Well, I know when I taught, I used inquiry with mine, and we actually made Chinese masks. And as opposed to me doing, like you said, making one first, I passed out all the materials, and I made one with them. I sat at a desk, just like they did, and all of them were always asking me, can I do it like this? Can I do it like that? And I told them, make your mask however you want to make it. And I felt like they had a sort of freedom to, what's the word I'm looking for?
Express?
Yes. They were able to express themselves through their mask.
Yeah.
And when I made my mask, I was making my mask, and they would ask me, well, Miss Kennedy, why are you making yours like that? And I was like, how I want to make it, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, you make yours how you want to make it. And they would all bring me their masks. I was like, that's awesome. Add a little more to it if you want to.
So you're kind of throwing art in there with it.
Indeed, indeed.
That's cool.
Yeah. So assessment. When I was assessing my first graders, and I had the Bright Identities exit slips, and I thought, oh, this is going to be wonderful. I'm just going to, because we had an activity. We went from the lecture to the activity. And so to bridge that, it was like, I knew they were going to be excited about making these crafts, the snakes, you know. So before they could get their materials to make the snakes, they had to do their exit slip, which was to write down 2 things that they learned today. Well, I discovered that that's a really broad, confusing thing for first graders. They're like, you know.
I was shocked at how well ours couldn't write, like second grade.
And then, you know, I discussed it with Miss Walters afterwards too, because I was like, you know, I realized I should not have done that. And she said, actually, you know, some first graders can use them, but you don't just throw it on them. Like, it's something that their teacher has to teach them throughout the year. And so the students that I had were not familiar with exit slips, and so having them just say, okay, and plus a sentence is a really big thing for a first grader to write on their own, and especially with hard words. And so, you know, a more appropriate way to do it would have been to maybe given them a cue, like, today I learned, and then let them fill in the
Right.
blank.
Yeah.
Right, that would
Rather
probably be a
than
lot
just
easier
bringing
for
on,
them.
hey, write 2 things you learned.